Welcome into another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
Good, tired but good. Things are
Same.
things are turning a corner. I'm happy about that.
Excellent.
Feel very motivated right now.
Outstanding. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
same. I'm tired. Did you end up losing power? We had a bunch of storms come through on Thursday last week. Did you end up losing power, or you stay powered up?
Well, I don't really want to say, but
Ah,
I lost. So I got up and watched the storms because they were loud,
yeah.
and so I got up. So I am the world's lightest sleeper, and I got up and I opened up the blinds on my front window and I watched the storm for about 45 minutes. Saw a transformer explode, which I then learned can
Ooh,
really only happen when struck by lightning. So that was kind of interesting.
wow.
And then I got tired and went and tried to go back to sleep at like quarter to 12. I had power the entire time I was awake. The power went off. It was off until, so I went to work at quarter to 7. Power came on at 7:20 because I got an email from my power company that told me my power was on. So I couldn't shower in the morning, but which made Wednesday or Friday work kind of gross. But I had power all weekend, but I did not
Nice.
have internet all weekend.
Gotcha.
Now, here's what I've learned. If your power is on and you don't have internet, it's like you don't have power.
Because why else do you need power but
The
to
fuck
do
you
all the
gonna
inter?
do? I couldn't watch TV or play video games. I could read, gross, and like go and do chores and shit. But like I did that for like an hour and a half, and I was like, yeah, I'm bored and I want to be entertained. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's how the weekend was.
we lost power Thursday. I was actually in Mount Pleasant um, Wednesday night, Thursday night, came back Friday. So I came back to no power. My wife and the kids were here, but so we lost power Thursday. We didn't get it back until 3:34 a.m. yesterday morning. So I was dragging butt for work on Monday, but nothing over the weekend. And we thankfully we do have a generator, so we had the fridge, the freezer was all running. We could take. I've got a tankless hot water heater, so we would unplug the freezer for a little bit, plug in the tankless hot water heater. We could take a warm shower, then we go back and plug the freezer back in. So we were able to do those kind of things. But you're right. Once there's no power, once there's no internet, you're like, ugh, what can I do? Um, uh, we also Sunday night, we decided we would unplug the fridge for a little bit, plug our TV and sound bar in, and then connected the Fire TV box to my phone's internet. And we were able to stream Netflix. Actually, it was Paramount Plus. We were catching up on Survivor. We actually streamed like no power anywhere except for my TV and my soundbar in the freezer. So we watched a couple episodes of Survivor while there was no power because we shall be entertained.
Roughing it.
I know, crazy, but we're back. It's kind of crappy weather, but at least I'd rather have it cold than rainy than cold, rainy, windy, and lightningy. So
Yeah, it's getting rough out here, man.
yeah.
This kind of stuff's probably going to happen more often. Well, anyways, I mentioned before while we were off air that I have some
Yeah.
kudos for you on our, not really around that news and notes around the NFL, but pre news and notes.
All right.
The Athletic decided to rank, by opinion, of course, the best collegiate football team since 2000. And the number one football team in the last 25 years, based off of how they calculated it, is the
Yeah, yeah.
2001 Miami Hurricanes team,
That's right.
who, I guess, won the national championship.
They did. They were. So if they never scored an offensive touchdown the entire season, they would have went 8-4.
So it says here they beat their foes by an average of 43-9.
Yeah. Yep.
So they beat
This,
Nebraska in the national championship game. Number 14, Syracuse, 59-0. Number 15, Florida State, 18, Virginia Tech, 19, Washington, and number 21, Boston College. Those are their signature wins in the season. Now, I thought Sean Taylor was on that team.
in 01? Maybe. I know he came from the U, but I just don't know if it was 2001 or if it was one of the 90s championship teams.
So it says their AP All-Americans are Ken Dorsey, Clinton Portis, Jeremy Shockey. I know that Sean Taylor and Clinton Portis played together. Jeremy Shockey, Bryant McKinney, Martin Bibla, Jerome McDougal, William Joseph, Philip Buchanan, Ed Reed, heard about him, and Todd Severs. So certainly some names on that list that made a pretty big impact in the NFL. I can't imagine that Sean Taylor would be on a roster and not be an All-American. So it's hard for me to believe that he was on that. So he must have been like a freshman the next season, like 2002.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, obviously that was 24 years ago. It's been a while, but I don't remember. I remember Shockey was there. I think they had 6 guys drafted in the first round of the draft after that season.
Dorsey, Portis, Shockey, McKinney. I don't know about Reed or Buchanan, but like those dudes are like legit teams. Michigan's highest rated team came in at 11, and that was our national championship team from 2024. So because
that was one of those stats that I've seen on Facebook. Everyone like, what's the wildest collegiate stat you've ever seen? And that was if the 2001 Hurricanes never scored an offensive touchdown, they would have gone 8-4. But oh, by the way, they scored 50 offensive touchdowns that year
in 12 games. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to give all the kudos in the world to Miami. I have nothing against that ranking. The greatest team, I didn't see that team play. I was 2001. I was 21? 19. I was 19 years old. Maybe not as into college football outside of the Wolverines as the rest of the nation was. But the best football team I know that I have watched played. You can't hear us?
Can't hear us.
Well, we can hear each other.
Turn it up.
Show comment.
Interesting. Yeah.
Hey, Brian M, can you hear us? Brian M.
Everybody in the chat, make sure you hit the live button.
Okay, LM, it's you, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so the best team that I have ever watched play is the 2019 LSU team with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Here are their signature wins. They beat number 2 Clemson, number 4 Georgia, number 6 Florida, number 7 Oklahoma, number 8 Alabama, 14 Auburn, and 25 Texas. Yeah. That is a murderer's row. I mean, they basically played the majority of the top 10. Why is our chat in the picture, Mike?
It's a new feature of StreamYard to
is this
kind of do the live, so we don't have to like pop in. Yeah, so if you don't want them, we can take them off. But once the comments get going, rocking.
Thank God, so LM can hear us now. So congratulations to the Miami Hurricanes of 24 years ago.
Yes.
So they deserved it. They were great.
What we got some news and notes around the NFL. We got some signings. One team spent a lot of money to get their quarterback of their franchise quarterback of the future.
Yeah, so of course Mike is referencing the San Francisco 49ers, and they have extended Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, on a 5-year? Yeah, must be 5-year.
I think so, yes.
5-year $265 million contract extension that pays him an AAV of $53 million a year, I believe.
Yeah, about 180 guaranteed.
So not as much guaranteed money as other people have gotten. Fine. You were the last pick of the 7th round. But here's the thing that I think is interesting without seeing the contract details yet. They gave him a no trade clause. He cannot be traded if he doesn't want to be. So even if the guaranteed money runs out and you're like, well, we really want to move on, turns out he's not as good because they've lost some guys this offseason.
Yeah. Debo.
Big
one.
They've lost some guys on the offensive line. They still, I mean, like, I think that their skill position players of Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and Ricky Pearsall is pretty good, backed up, of course, by Christian McCaffrey, who is full running back / wideout. And
Trent
George
Williams
Kittle.
still on the line, right?
Huh? Trent Williams is still there.
Still on the line. Yep.
They have a very good young first contract player named Dominique Pooney, who is their right guard, who's played very well in his rookie season. So there's hope that they have 2 spots last down. They have a guy named, I think, a right tackle named McKivitz, who scored pretty highly per PFF scoring. So their offensive line is not terrible, and it's a good thing that Purdy can move. So it's good. And they completely reinvested in their defensive line during the draft. They drafted, I believe, 3 defensive linemen at least who were all primarily run defense. They drafted Michael Williams. I believe they drafted Alfred Collins from Texas. And then 1 additional player. And they're gunning for, like, we may not have the top 15 defense in the NFL next year, but we will have a top 10 run defense.
Yeah.
So they're very much geared toward the stopping of that. Hopefully, I'm thinking they're trying to make teams one-dimensional and get into shootouts where they feel like they probably have a advantage with their skill position players. So best of luck. That doesn't seem like a terrible strategy.
Yeah.
That wasn't their only extension. They also extended Fred Warner, their coverage middle linebacker, who's kind of regarded as the best linebacker in football. And they are going to pay him $21 million a year over 3 additional seasons on the back end of his current deal, making him the highest paid linebacker in the league. Why does this matter? Because Jack Campbell is coming up on a contract extension here in a couple years. And now Warner has pushed the ceiling up on the middle linebacker money just a little bit. So there's that. So I have maintained that the Lions can sign all of their 2023, their first 4 picks to near top of the market deals. So we'll just have to wait and see on this. If they keep, what is going on? Oh, here we go. I'm trying to figure out where the linebacker money is. So Roquan Smith was making $20 million. Fred was making 19, and now Fred will make 21. So he really only got himself $2 million more a year AAV.
Probably a little bit more guaranteed, most likely.
Yeah, it's usually. I think that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
So, and then of course the Bears, in their infinite wisdom,
The Bears
have extended Joe Tooney, for 2 years at $17.5 a year. So pretty big money for an interior lineman, but he's one of the better interior offensive linemen in the NFL, even at this point in his career. So they are trying to lock up a solid line for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, lickety split.
Yeah. Well, that was one of their biggest weaknesses last year was the offensive line. Caleb Williams was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL.
68.
That's a lot. And
68 over 17,
when you
man.
Scramble. I'm like, when you're a scrambling quarterback and you still get 68 sacks, your offensive line is straight trash.
Well, he contributes to that because he holds the ball
sure.
so long. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they were not great.
Yeah. What other news and notes around the NFL do we have?
Well, I have one, and I'm kind of curious what you think about it. It was voted on today, I believe, that in the 2028 Olympics, NFL players are going to be allowed to play flag football in those Olympics. I read over an article briefly that highlighted some kind of the like stipulations as to how that was going to be achieved and some of the protections for like the teams, like as far as injury, roster spots, lost practice time, what happens if scenarios. I cannot find the article again,
Of course not.
which outlined them, that kind of thing. I did remember seeing that there can only be one NFL player per NFL team to go and be on the roster. So the Chiefs or the Dolphins or somebody can't have 6 players make up the squad.
Yeah.
If there's anything I know about playing football outside of the NFL season, it's that I don't want anyone on my team to do it.
Right.
So, like, I remember Brian Greasy tripped over his dog and fell down some stairs like 15 years ago and like broke a bone, and therefore he couldn't play for like a month or something like that. And I was just like, let's
bubble wrap these
dangerous.
guys and see them on Sundays.
Not cool. Now, I think that some people will want to go and be in the Olympics. And so even if it was like, what if it was Dominique Lovett, who the Lions just drafted from Georgia?
Right.
If it's him, I don't mind. Because you're not important,
Those are not the guys that are going to be invited to do the thing. So right. I think our best hope is it's going to be somebody like Monty or Gibbs, where we've got some sort of, like, if Gibbs goes down hurt in the Olympics, we have a great running back in Monty that can kind of be our 1B. Like, all right, he's going to step up and be a good running back. What I don't want is somebody like Goff to go and then get an injury. And you're like, well, he was our guy. Like, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how we figure all that stuff out.
You I think you've got me queued up for the next one, don't you?
I do. Do you want me to add it to the stage?
Let's go ahead, buddy.
All right.
So, Pro Football Focus.
Let's do it.
Have ranked the 32 starters ahead of the 2025 NFL season. Before we say anything, I totally agree with where Jared Goff is ranked.
I haven't even looked. I looked at the top 5, and I've not looked at anything below that. So
I'm 100%
whatever they listed as elite. All right.
I am 100%, and I think not only is it accurate, it's also generous. So let's talk about it.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
All right, so we shall go and do a little scrolly. So,
hey, Mike.
Yes.
Can you make it bigger?
I should have known.
Yeah.
So, Tier 1 Elite. We've got Patrick Mahomes as number 1, Joe Burrow as number 2.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson as number 3.
Okay.
Josh Allen as number 4.
Okay.
And that is the Elite Tier 1 guys. Is there anybody that you feel is missing out of that, or is that's pretty accurate? Because there's good players that are not in there, right?
I think it's pretty accurate. Listen, I don't like Ohio, right?
Right? I don't blame you.
I think Joe Burrow is really, really good.
Yeah. I would almost put him at number 1 over Mahomes.
I don't know that he belongs in this tier.
Really?
So
I would actually put him at 1. Interesting.
Tell me why you would put him at 1. Because I think I know why you would put him at 1.
Because he can make every throw.
Right.
He's great downfield. He's great short field. He's smart. He reads defense as well. Like what he did last year, if their team got to the playoffs, if their defense wasn't so straight garbage, dumpster fire bad, and they made the playoffs, I think he wins the MVP. He was amazing. But the defense was so bad, keeps him out of the playoffs, keeps him out of MVP conversation. And I think that he's hell of fun to watch. So I put him actually as the best quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
So I'm curious why you would actually keep him out of the elite category.
Because he does not do things with his legs. He is exceptional at moving in the pocket. He has exceptional feel in the pocket, and he's all the things that you said are true. And he does not affect the game with his legs. And that's it.
Yeah. And I totally get that. The nice part about him, though, and the big difference between him and, say, a Jared Goff, who is also not, I mean, he's more mobile than Goff, right? So let's not say that they're like equally immobile. He is clearly more mobile than Goff. When he rolls out, his arm is so strong. He can throw on the run, downfield, laser on target, right? So while he isn't mobile like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, when he does roll out and is getting chased around because his offensive line is garbage, he can still make those plays. So that's why I still keep him in there, even though he doesn't have the mobility and the playmaking extension of a Lamar Jackson and a Josh Allen.
Yeah. On to the next.
All right, so the next is high-end starters. They got Jalen Hurts at 5, Jaden Daniels at 6. That seems a little generous after a first
very
year.
High praise.
Stafford at 7.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert at 8.
Yeah.
And that is our high-end starters.
I don't know that I would put Jalen Hurts in this category. He just won a Super Bowl. He got extended. He's tush push central.
For now, until they ban it, we'll see.
Jaden Daniels was a rookie. He did not play like a rookie. He played exceptionally well. I've started to go back and watch his games from last season to kind of get a better feel for like who he is as a player. But like the thing about him that I think is the thing that I would highlight that I agree with the most out of this write-up is what separates Daniels is his poise under center and in clutch moments late in the year. His poise, if you could somehow quantify poise, I think that he would be 1 or 2 in the NFL. He's unbelievable. Nothing rattles him, it appears. That is, I think, a trait in quarterbacks that is underrated by the viewing public because we can't quantify it. And I think it's the thing that's like, oh, okay, they're showing blitz. Well, I know where I need to go. Here's what I have to do. Let's just get the job done. Like, when your quarterback can't do that, you see it and you hate it. You know, and
the other team sees it too, and they exploit it.
Right. And then it's like, oh, strip sack, picked it up and returned. Oh, it's on, top Sports Center's top 10 or, whatever. And when, but like if he's doing his job and he just hits the hot route for like a 7-yard gain, everyone's like, oh, 7 yards. Not exactly top 10 material, but like, I think you have to include in the fact of like, oh yeah, he saw where the blitz was. And like, just because of his intelligence and understanding where he had to go with the ball and not getting rattled, he turned what the defense was hoping to be a negative play, to get them out, off the field on 3rd down or put them behind the, down in distance or what have you, has been turned into like a very positive gain. And now the offense has flipped the script on the defense and forced them to be even more reactive. So like, I like Jaden Daniels here. It is at war with my ability. Like, yeah, he had a great rookie year. What is his sophomore year going to look like? They've added a lot of pieces for him.
Where'd CJ Stroud go? Because he had up until Jaden Daniels possibly the best rookie quarterback season of all time, right? And now Jaden Daniels has, but you don't even see CJ in the top 8.
So I mean, like
Jaden can run though. That kid,
he runs
he's a lot like
much.
Lamar. Well, he probably
He doesn't. He does nothing to protect himself. He doesn't. He'll go out of bounds, but he will not slide. And like if you look at him, like he almost looks like I don't know what you call a male ballerina. but he almost has a body like that where it's just like I could wrap my hands around his rib cage. I have like real
Yeah.
tiny hands, you
Do you
know?
remember the replacements? He's wiry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like that was one of the knocks against him is how is this guy gonna hold up? Because like at his last year at LSU, he took some just unbelievable shots that could have been avoided.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, in the NFL, they're bigger, they're faster, they know what you're doing. So you're probably going to take more of those shots. And he took some shots,
Yeah.
but like he's like one of those stupid inflatable punching bags.
Yeah.
It just keeps popping back up, you know? So I have no problem with Matthew Stafford or Justin Herbert being on this list, even though Justin Herbert might be suffering from Jim Harbaugh syndrome, where it's like, we just don't want to ask you to push the ball down the field.
Yeah.
We just want you to not turn the ball over, hit the stuff underneath, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah,
I don't think Jalen Hurts should be on this list.
I would, if I was redoing this, I would move Justin Herbert up to 5. I would move Stafford up to 6. I would take Jaden Daniels out of this. It's 1 year. I would move him probably into the next group, which I don't even know what the name of that next group is, but I'd probably take him out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I might leave. I'd probably leave Jalen Hurts in this group, but I wouldn't have him at 5. I would have him at. So I go Herbert at 5, Stafford at 6, probably Hurts at 7. And I'm not sure who I'm missing at 8. Probably see what the next group is, but I would drop Jaden Daniels out of this group.
Okay.
Let's see who's in the next group.
Well, time for the discussion.
Solid starters who have flashed high-end play. Jared Goff at 9. Geno Smith at 10. Brock Purdy at 11.
So this is the 3A group.
Yeah. And I guess you could, this is where they start getting, what's the difference between any of these? It's any given Sunday is the difference, right?
So here's my issue. I think the highest that Jared Goff has ever been ranked by passer rate, like by passer score on PFF in his career is the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. So this rings true to what I think his ceiling is. Yeah. I also think that last year was about as well as I have seen him play, like on a game-to-game basis, with the obvious, like, boy, you really played bad in the playoffs, bro. Like what did Washington do to you that no one else did? You know, like
the answer was not a lot. Most of those were his own mistakes and bad decisions.
And that's the problem. Like I think that he has limitations to his ceiling, both athletically, and you get something like that once a year from him.
Yeah, and you just hope it's not in a big game, which is when it tends to happen.
He's bad.
Yeah.
Because for so much of the season, he was wonderful. He was wonderful.
Efficient.
Yeah. And so like that's what this group of players should be called. Is like this is the less athletic, high-end efficiency group. All of these guys. Smith, Purdy, that's who these dudes are. So these guys are completely reliant on how well the rest of the roster has been put together.
Yes.
As the rest of the roster improves, their scores go up. Look at the scores for Jared Goff since he got to Detroit, in 2021. So he has steadily improved as the players around him have gotten better. That stands to reason from a common sense point of view and an on-field point of view. So no problem with that. But I think that roster construction is very much a bell curve. And there is a top of a bell curve. And at some point, you simply cannot keep making the rest of the roster better in a significant way on a game-to-game basis when it concerns a quarterback. Like you can invest in your defense and he might have more opportunities, but like how much better did you make your offense, right? So like this last draft,
We already have the top 2 offensive line. We
right?
already have a top 3 tight end. We already have the number 1 or number 2 best run game. We already have a top 5 wide receiver and a guy like JMO who is a top 3 fastest guy. Like, where can you get better in those areas? So, to your point, on the offensive side of the ball, at least, we're at the top of that bell curve. We could literally only get worse. You can't go from like, number 1 to anything else. So,
By the way, with Jared Goff, congratulations. He and his wife are pregnant.
yeah.
So big shout out. That's wonderful. But yeah, I think that Jared Goff exists in that mid 70s to low 80s PFF offensive rating category.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But like,
Yeah.
one of my, I mean, and I think this goes back to like my complaint about the draft this year is that like, I like all the players that they drafted. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know that they made significant improvement where the defense was the worst. And I know some people disagree about that because they see the interior as being worse than the edge, because Aiden's coming back and he's starting to look pretty good in his like videos that he's putting out about his recovery. So that hopefully he's restrained in his recovery and everything's still going well. Looks like it is. But like, that is the place that you can add to that will, I think, would make the greatest impact on a player, not only on a player like Aiden Hutchinson, but on a player like Jared Goff. Like, if Jared Goff was wonderful. I don't know what 3 out of 18 is as a percentage, but like, he had 3 games. The Lions lost 3 times last year, right? Where they either got behind on the script, inexplicably had turnovers where they don't normally have turnovers, or I don't know, the whoops-a-daisy, the ball bounces the way the ball bounces kind of thing. But if you give him 15 out of 18 tries, he was great, and if you give him more opportunities in those 15 tries, that's what I want to see, because I think that's the path back to 15. So,
and I agree with Brian here. Goff is a better quarterback than athlete, right? He's not very mobile, but as a positional player, like he is better as a quarterback than as an overall athlete. Similar to Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady wasn't an amazing athlete. We saw his combine. Like that's not what I would call a prototypical athlete, but he was a better quarterback than athlete, and sometimes that's what you need. He says he knows that, maximizes his football talents, which Brian says is intelligence, timing, and accuracy. And I would say most of those, I would agree with most of that. Timing is he's got timing down, and if he gets off time, he's screwed, which is why we're putting so much into our offensive line. Accuracy, I would agree, under about 18 yards. Downfield, he can make those downfield throws, but not with the consistency of a Stafford or a Burrow or a Mahomes or whatever, like the elite downfield throwers. He can throw it down there. We've seen some of those throw it right in the basket, but there's also some of those where the guys stop, turn around, and wait for the ball to get there too. So I think his accuracy under about 18 yards is actually pretty high end. Intelligence, that one I'm a little mixed on. I think generally I would agree, but I don't think he reads defenses as quickly as the elite quarterbacks. He struggles with that, understanding how the plays are going to develop. So he gets the ball out relatively quick because he just doesn't understand where those plays go downfield. But that's also what our offense is built around. Our offense is built around those portions of his skill set. So we don't need to make him understand what a long developing play is going to look like, because that's just not what we're doing. So we are focusing around his pros, right?
They certainly have built this offense around Jared Goff. It's not, if you took Lamar Jackson and just put him on the Lions roster, I would want there to be a different style of offense to be played.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about the rest of this list?
Yeah, might as well. So Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy. I'm not sure I'd put Geno Smith here. I would keep Jaden Daniels in that group. He has flash tie-in play. Like most of his rookie year was a big, long super flash of high-end play. I would put CJ Stroud in it, and maybe he's in the 3B, but I would put CJ Stroud in this. He had a great rookie year. Last year was a little tougher for him, but the rest of his team also, to your point, you need the team around you. Let him down a bit. So let's see who's in 3B. Solid starters, but they need more help. Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud.
There he is.
Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa. That's a big group for an A versus B.
So the guy that I want to talk about first is Baker. Number 1 pick, played for the Browns. Really sorry about that, Baker. That wasn't your fault.
Right.
Bounced around for a minute, played in Carolina, got off the plane, played for LA, won that game.
Yep.
Played a season on a prove-it deal in Tampa Bay, played it well, got a reward, got a 3-year, $100 million contract. This dude is lightning in a bottle as far as I'm concerned. So he has potentially as high of a ceiling in the NFL for how well he can play as any quarterback in the league, in my opinion. His floor is just much lower. Like, you don't know, like, if like these two things are oscillating back and forth, right? And you don't know where he's going to end up on any given game. Like, is he going to get hot and just be like, well, yeah, I can walk off a plane, size me up for my jersey, and I'll go out not knowing your playbook and just win it for you? Or, is he going to throw 4 picks in 3 quarters, and they're down by 4 or 5 scores, The thing about him as he's gotten older is that I think his floor is coming up.
Yeah.
And so he's maintaining his high-end, potentially elite play on a week-to-week basis, and he's not making as many mistakes. The thing that you think, I think that the thing that you can do to get him back into that mistake-prone, rushed, scared mentality where he makes mistakes is that if you can get after him and if you can get pressure on him consistently, he'll make a mistake that you can capitalize on. So like the interception at the end of the divisional round or wild card round 2 years ago that Barnes had that just sealed it. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think you can force him into, where you maybe won't be able to force other players into it. Of course, then I think the other side of that fence is go back and watch Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and like the Eagles baited him for 2 picks, So I mean,
they baited him and pressured him all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of blurry here and very small. His kept clean offensive rating was at 90.8.
Yeah.
So when he's kept clean, that dude plays. He balls out. So, and actually his grade this year, and then almost every single one of his stats were actually higher than Stafford's this past year. He had a great year. That was probably his best career year, was last year. What are your thoughts on Jordan Love? I feel like this is maybe a little bit too low, but maybe not.
I think it's appropriate. Pressure baiting sounds inappropriate for YouTube. Disagree. I think this is perfect for Jordan Love. So, like, I think Jordan Love has the capacity in a different way to basically rank in the same tier that Jared Goff does.
Yeah.
The difference is where I think Jared Goff is built into a system that exemplifies what he does, and he's been in it now for a while, and they've improved the roster around him. They have not done the same thing for the same extent for Jordan Love. Yeah. They sat him on the bench for 3 years. This was last year was the only second year that he's been the full-time starter. He was hurt most of the year with a variety of injuries. You saw that, especially like at the at-home game where they flushed him out of the pocket and Kirby picked him off right before halftime and took it back. Like, he couldn't get away, so he tried to make a play, and it backfired in the rain. Like, That was
an
the
experience,
problem.
right?
Well, I mean, like, and he's hurt.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
but I think that's where Jared Goff made a lot more of those mistakes at Jordan Love's age, right? He was a turnover. He's got more turnovers since he's been in the NFL than any other quarterback. Like he was a turnover machine the majority of his career, Jared Goff. The last couple years, and I think he's taken that experience and learning when to just take a sack here, throw it away here instead of trying to make a play. And Jordan Love isn't quite there yet. He just doesn't have that experience. So I think that's where Goff has that step above. I do feel like tier 3B should be maybe right below Jordan Love. I like 12 as the number, but I feel like he's in that solid starters and have flash tie-in play. So I feel like he should be up here, but still at 12. So more semantics for me.
Let's
CJ
see.
Stroud,
Sure.
Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, the generational talent that is apparently Trevor Lawrence. Dak, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Well, hang on one second. Trevor Lawrence has everything that you would want in order to be up there with, I think, maybe the tier 1 or tier 2 quarterbacks. The problem has been that he has played for a franchise that, from an ownership down to a management and coaching level, has been largely inept his entire career. Like, if we look at the way the Detroit Lions have behaved under their new regime, they got Sheila, right? Sheila hires Brad hires Dan. You know, they work together to tool the roster. They trade for Goff. They start bringing in, they bring in Penny Sewell, Aiden, all these guys, St. Brown, really, really elevate the roster, come in with a vision. They have great coordinators. They have great position coaches. And we know this because they've been poached by all these other teams.
Right.
So, like, what they have is the beginning of continuity from the ownership all the way down. And none of that exists. None of that exists in Jacksonville. And, like, I don't think there is a player that has ever played in the NFL that their talent can overcome the lack of, like, organizational direction.
Yeah. Well, just look at Stafford in Detroit for 10 years.
Correct. Yeah. Another great example.
A shit show.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So, like, what is sad about Trevor Lawrence's situation to me is not that he has played poorly or average or whatever, is that he hasn't reached his potential because the people in his organization are not making decisions to allow him to realize his potential. And that's a loss for me. And I don't even give a shit about Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Like,
the games are just not as good. Like he could be making these games more fun to watch if he had a team around him.
Right. Agreed. So,
tier 4, young players with a wide range of potential outcomes. Bo Nix, Bryce Young, JJ McCarthy,
sure.
Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., Caleb Williams, Cam Ward.
So all the rookies in the last 2 years.
Yeah. With the exception of, like, the super standouts in Stroud and Jaden Daniels. Which all makes sense.
It's fine. Don't let it happen again, though, dude. Okay. So, basically, this group, as far as I'm concerned, might as be like unrealized potential.
Yeah. To be determined, right?
Yeah, TBDs. Like, I think that there are players. Okay, let me ask you this, Mike.
Yeah.
If you had to pick 2 guys from this list that can make it into higher tiers on their rookie contracts, who you picking?
I am picking Caleb Williams.
Basically in the next 3 years.
Yeah, Caleb Williams and Drake May would be my pick. Okay. Maybe Bo Nix. It's kind of a tie between Bo Nix and Drake May for me.
I would take Michael Penix, and I think I would take Caleb Williams.
Interesting.
So the reason I would take Penix is that PFF has a stat called big time throws.
Yes.
Michael Penix made as many big time throws in the NFL last year as almost, I don't remember who exactly it was, their other starter, Kirk Cousins, or if it was compared against like to other people. Like Josh Allen makes a ton of big time throws. He throws a lot of picks, but he throws a lot of other big time throws.
Yeah.
But
Except
like
for last year, he had almost no picks
right,
comparatively.
like last year was like, oh shit, this Josh Allen could go to a Super Bowl, you know. But Michael Penix makes
but he's on the
big
Bills,
time,
so
yeah.
they're just not going to get there.
Michael Penix makes big time throws in the time that he played last year at a rate that was almost 3-1 what other players were making. If that is a baseline for him, he'll be in that top group, lickety split.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And he's got decent guys to work with too, right? So
he really does.
Whereas like Drake May, who did he have to throw to?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
who was protecting him?
Name
who
me
was
a
taking the
wide
load off with a run game?
Yeah, name me a wide receiver on New England last year. I dare you.
Yeah. Veterans capable of solid play but can be quickly replaced. Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Field. I find it funny that I guess he is a vet now at this point.
Well, he's still on a rookie deal, but he's been cut, so like he's
a couple times.
That's
right?
that doesn't count anymore.
Darnold had a great. I mean, I kind of feel like they didn't tier him with the young kids because he wasn't a young kid, but I feel like he's better than the 26th overall.
I don't.
His season last year was pretty stellar.
Yes, it was, and that's the season that he's played well. So
I get that. But
if he
JJ McCarthy, he has never had a season. Why is JJ at 21?
Because he's never been a fuck up.
Well, that's, but he's never been good either.
Correct, including bad. You know, so that's just a potentiality argument.
Yeah,
right.
Same with Cam Ward, right? Like he's never played a game. So,
but like Sam Darnold has been actively bad for half a decade and had one stellar season in which he played epically bad the last 2 games they played.
It's true.
Really, really bad.
Yeah. But the first 16 were great.
It doesn't matter.
So why is Geno Smith higher though? Because he's Geno Smith.
Consistently above average. I know you don't like him, but he is consistently above average. And Sam Darnold is not.
Yeah.
That is the difference. Like if you and I sat down on some weekend and just watched like 4 games condensed, like 3 hours worth of football, and we just watched any 4 Seattle Seahawks games from last season, I could change your mind about who Geno Smith is.
Yeah.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'm convinced. So that's it.
Yeah. Tier 6, low-end starters are not long-term options. Joe Flacco, he filled in great, but I always thought he was overrated even when he was playing with Baltimore.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, Mason Rudolph, Tyler Show.
Something.
Tyler
last name, I call him.
Tyler last name from the Saints.
Yeah.
None
of these players matter.
Appropriate. Yeah.
The player that matters the most on that list is Richardson, and that's just because what happens to you? Like, do you turn your mentality, your work ethic, your drive around so that it lines up with your potential, or do you not? Because one route is the Justin Fields route, where like even I think that I could make the argument that I don't know that Justin Fields has been treated quote unquote all that fairly in the NFL, but because he suffers from Jacksonville syndrome where you just don't support your quarterback. But like at the same time, you have contributed, Anthony Richardson, to your own lack of success by doing things like taking yourself out of games, not doing the simple things well. He's only played like something like 16 games in the NFL and in college combined.
Yeah.
You know, outside of last season. So I'm like, like I mean, there's a reason that you draft this kid at 4 because he's just the most physically gifted player at quarterback who's ever played football.
Yeah.
By the way that we rank
There's
that.
super high ceiling, right?
Yeah.
There's also a super low floor. We got to figure out where he ends up.
Let's not fight. Can we just agree that they're both turnover machines, guys?
But they were, especially earlier in their careers.
That is true.
Right?
So, should we get into the schedule? We're almost
let's
an
talk
hour
about
in.
the schedule. Yeah. All right. So let's. I'll throw the schedule around the bottom there. So and then we'll bring it up over here. We've got. We don't care about preseason. So.
Well, I
Chargers,
care about one thing. They're playing a fourth game.
Yeah.
In the preseason, so the Lions are going to end up playing 21 games. Now, I think that I would rather have a fourth preseason game just so I can put out my B squad and get that many more reps to figure out who I want on my 53. But like, they have a tendency to, well, hang on. They have a tendency to keep their starters in games in the regular season, even when those games are out of hand.
Yeah.
I don't think if I was the Lions, I would not play my starters. I could name almost 10 guys that I would just not play.
Yeah.
At all. Like, sorry, we know who you are. You'll be fine. Yeah. You're working hard.
You've made the squad.
Right.
The preseason is about figuring out who's going to make the squad, more or less, right? So we'll be playing the Chargers at home in the whatever game.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame game. Yeah, the Tom Benson Hall of Fame game. We'll play Atlanta, in Atlanta, home against the Dolphins, home against the Texans. So the cool thing is we're only traveling for one of those games even for when we put our B squad on there.
Sumer Sports, which is a analytics-based football website, put out something called a rest ratio or rest quotient. And the Lions have the third highest rest quotient in the NFL, meaning like the space and timing between their games affords them rest. The amount of travel that they do not have to do affords them rest. So I expect that. I like how when we finally get to our main topic, talking about the schedule, we lose people. But like the Lions,
bathroom breaks.
the Lions should be well rested. I like what I am seeing about like the quote unquote like stuff that doesn't really get talked about much. If there's anything like that left in the NFL for the Lions this upcoming season, I think it helps us where we're going to need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Danny says, I'm pretty sure the starters didn't play last preseason except for like one drive of the last game.
Wouldn't even do that.
I don't think they were not in the last game at all. I think it was two drives in the second to last game, the second preseason game.
Hey, Danny, if you could take notes this preseason and just like get us set up for this time next year, I'd really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, right on.
Just watch every second of all the preseason games and take notes.
I'll probably watch them because why not, right? But
I mean, if they're going to give them to me, I'll watch them.
So let's talk regular season. We have the second hardest strength of schedule, second hardest schedule in the NFL, tied with the Chicago Bears, only behind the New York Giants. So this is going to be a really, really tough schedule. So let's figure out what we got here. Week 1 in Green Bay.
Yeah. This is, as far as I am concerned, the type of game where Detroit will go. First of all, so we're at an outdoor stadium, right?
Yep.
In September. So no,
it's better than December, right?
Right. So that's a point in our favor as far as I am concerned. I don't care about a 4:00 start when you only have to travel like 600 miles.
Right.
I believe what is going to happen is what has happened like the last 4 times the Lions have played the Packers. Like it'll be relatively close, probably within one score and a half, something like that, 7 to 10 points. And Green Bay will be faced with a scenario where they have to either decide we're going to play this passively or we're going to play this aggressively, and LaFleur will choose passivity.
Yeah.
And then Campbell will choose to be aggressive, and that is the difference between these two teams. If Campbell's aggressiveness pays off at the rate that it has paid off thus far in Campbell's tenure, this is a win on the road.
Yeah. I think that, so the interesting thing for me this year, as I'm looking at all these games, and we'll get to the gauntlet that is for the next 5 games, is our hardest opponents are going to be on the road, and we're going to have 2 brand new coordinators. So we're going to have a brand new offense coordinator. We're going to have a brand new defensive coordinator. Granted, Calvin Shepard, our defensive coordinator, was our linebackers coach. He knows kind of how Aaron Glenn ran that defense and everything. So I think there's a lot of continuity there. And our Morton, our offensive coordinator, he used to be a coach with us in the Dan Campbell area before he left for another place, and now he's back. Jared Goff knows the offense inside and out. So the question for me with this whole season, especially the early, like before the bye, which by the way, you did get your wish. We did not get a week 5 bye.
Thank you. Week 2.
To me, the biggest thing for the 7 games before our week 8 bye is how much are we gelling? How much are we getting under these new coordinators? Are we going to be the same as we were last year? Like, all things being equal, our roster isn't any worse this year than last year. And we were a 15-2 team with 22 guys on IR. So to me, this says we've got the roster to do it. Are the offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators scheming as well as they did last year? So I think early on in the season is going to be the real question. As the season goes, we'll know better. But that's my biggest question going in. So I think that we're going to start off strong in Green Bay. The problem is we've started off really poorly the last couple years. We won in overtime, a squeaker in overtime against LA last year, and then lost against Tampa Bay in week 2. And we could have been 0-2 to start last season. And we were kind of lucky to come out of it 1-1. I just really don't want us to start poorly again this year. So I'm really hoping that we come out with a W here in Green Bay against a division rival.
Yeah, this is a win for me.
I think it will be too, but this is more of a coin flip for me. But I will pick win when we're doing these what do we think's.
Yeah,
nothing I bet the house on.
I think this is I would put the line at 4.5 for Detroit. So I think they win by more than a field goal. So yeah, chalk that up as a W for me on the road.
All right. And then we got Chicago at home.
Hang on. Are we keeping track of what we're picking?
We can.
All right. We did that last year.
Well, I was thinking that we did our final picks right before.
We want to do right before the season?
Week 1. Yeah. Okay, it's just preliminary.
All right.
We'll know more about it if there's any injuries and that kind of stuff.
Jesus. All right.
Darn right, yeah. We can still keep track and see how it changes between now and then. Home against the Bears. You didn't want to do
it. You can't go back. Make yourself look good.
Home against the Bears. What are you thinking?
Crush them.
So
I think the Bears are better. I think they're better on both lines. That's what I think is important in the NFL right now. They have added Colston Loveland. They added Luther Burden as rookies to a skill position group that I already thought was pretty good. Here's the thing, though, and I don't know that enough people are talking about this. They have lost Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen was the dude who chewed up Detroit twice last year. When they got in the red zone, it was Keenan Allen, who just ate up Amik Robertson, ate up whoever was playing him. So they don't have that guy that was Detroit kryptonite last year. So do Colston Loveland and Luther Burden adjust to the NFL on the road against a division rival by week 2? I say no. Will their offensive line be better? Yeah, and it's better where it needs to be, which is up front.
Yep.
So is the question I have on this game is, can Detroit get pressure? So Aiden Hutchinson had a wonderful year getting pressure before he was hurt. It should be stated he played against backup or worse right tackles the
Yep.
entire span of that. So can he beat starting level tackles as easily as he did the guys that he was playing? It probably won't be as blisteringly hot of a pace as it was last season, but I think that he'll beat them.
Yeah, I agree.
But like, I think this is the game that's going to be like, oh, I wish we had a dude coming off the other side. So,
well, Davenport won't get hurt that early in the season. Come on, we'll have it.
Okay. But I think this is a 2-score win.
Yeah. I mean, basically over 9 points, 9 points or more, right?
I just don't think that they will be able to contain both Montgomery and Gibbs the entire game. I just don't see it happening. Like,
I agree.
They're better defensively and they're better on their line, but like, I mean, we're better on our line.
I agree. And I think just the fear that I had last year going in was a lot of new guys having to gel early, which we did struggle with. They're going to do the same thing. I think they got better, but they've got a lot of gelling to do. And early on, I'd rather face a team that's got to gel early than later when they've already done it. Like Caleb Williams, he did not start off hot. He played fairly well down the stretch though, as he got into it, knew the offense better, and like became more into being a starting quarterback in an NFL team. He just got better. So it's always advantageous to play those guys up front when they're still learning.
Were you going for versed?
Yes, I was. I was going to go a verse. I'm like, oh, that's not right.
No, you want the opposite. So,
all right, week 3 in Baltimore against Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so as we all remember, a couple years ago, the Ravens straight up humiliated the Lions in Baltimore. Now we have to go to Baltimore again. This is a Monday night game. I hate that. A lot of people really like it. So, okay, cool. Here's the difference to me. Baltimore's offensive line is different than it was 2 years ago. Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, has had another major injury. They have Tyler Lindenbaum as their center, yet he is, for NFL centers, relatively light. Is he going to be able to handle the power of a DJ Reader and now Tyleik Williams coming in consistently, probably playing 3-tech? They have a massive guard in Daniel Falalele, but is he fast enough to handle the likes of somebody like Davenport off the edge? Like, they have a second-year right tackle in Richard Rosengarten. This is where that is the storyline to me. Is can Detroit get pressure on Lamar Jackson, and B, does that pressure matter?
Yeah.
Because Lamar Jackson's career has been, you broke through my line, and now I've made you look like fools because I
just ran around. As you were coming up the middle, I went around the outside, and I've already got the first down.
So I know that we have guys like Branch, Anzalone, Campbell, Amik Robertson, Terry and Arnold even are all praised for their ability to defend the run. But like, how well can Detroit handle the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry option? It's a question the entire NFL has to answer.
Yeah.
So if they are effective and just like limiting him at any way, shape, or form, I'm talking about Henry, I think that the Lions are in a position to be able to win this game, but I have this as a loss. Because
same.
The Detroit Lions have not beaten a team of this caliber in this era. Like, they need to do it.
Yeah. I for the same reasons as you just gave, I've got this as a loss as well. I think this is going to, I think the first 6 games is really almost all of them are almost measuring sticks for us of
Yeah.
like what is our season going to be look like. We have a new defensive coordinator. Granted, he's a linebacker coach, right? And that maybe that helps us improve our run stopping, but that's been our Achilles heel. We either sell it out to stop the run, and then the team throws over our heads because we're diving into the box and trying to get to the quarterback and trying to plug up the lanes, or we sit back and try to stop the pass and they run through us. And we've never been able to do both. And with a new defensive coordinator, I'm going to be really curious to see how do we attack a team that can do both pretty well. They've got some quality receivers, obviously 2 different running backs, one which can also throw the ball pretty damn well, right? You got Travis Henry on one side, and you've got Lamar Jackson that can both run and throw. So this is going to be tough for us. We're not really built to stop that kind of a quarterback right now because there's not that many in the NFC. So we're building it to stop NFC in our division. And we'll struggle. I got this as a loss.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to pick the Lions to beat teams in this tier because they have not done it yet. And I'm a big believer that you don't learn how to beat those teams and be one of those teams until you beat them.
Yeah.
So like this is one of the games I've circled on my like I am super interested to get into this hard. Like
yeah. I think we can beat them, right? I think we are a good enough team to beat them. The question is, do we?
Joseph
Lead
is
pipe win.
Joseph is not he's not with me. I've lost Joseph.
He's not on it.
Yeah.
Week 4, we're gonna get back on the winning train again and beat on the Cleveland Browns.
45-point win.
I was going to say 2 scores.
I
would go on record saying 2 touchdowns. But
I will put money right now on the Lions winning this game by 45 points.
I think the last time you put something on like a 21 point, like a 3 touchdown win, we did win by 20 or something. But I think you still owe me a hamburger.
I probably do, but like. This team has at best right now is Kenny Two Gloves as its quarterback. No chance.
Yeah.
No chance. 48-3, I'll say.
I'm going to go with at least a 2-score win, a 2 touchdown win.
This is at home.
Yep.
This is going to be they're going to have to be in that stadium with the fans fucking standing in the aisles screaming their heads off for an hour. There's no way, dude.
It is really hard to win by more than 10 points in the NFL.
This is going to be blood.
I'm here for it. Like
they're going to have to pick these guys up with those little like grabber things that like the poles and put them in a sack.
I'm here for it. I'd love to see that. And if there's a game this year, this is one of those games that I would say we're going to win by 40 points or more. This would be one of those games. The Giants, which is coming up at some point, would be the other one.
Joseph, come on, dude. They didn't have Kelsey. They didn't have Jones in that game.
And Kadarius Toney batted a ball to us for a pick 6, which was the game.
Yeah. So, okay, I mean, I'll give it to you, but like, come on.
A dub's a dub. They don't ask how, they ask how many, right?
Right.
But yes. In Cincy against who I think is the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Is Cincinnati going to treat the start of the season like it fucking matters? Because
I hope so.
Because they don't usually, and it's hurt them.
Yeah.
It's hurt them. And so I like getting this game at this point in the season. I would have liked it if it was even earlier.
Yeah.
Their defense is abysmal, and they still have not figured out Trey Hendrickson. So, and I mean, even if Joe Burrow is awesome, I think the Lions need to stop or limit their offense once in the entire game, because this has every indication to me that this is going to be something like 52-49.
Yeah.
As a game. And like their defense is just worse than ours. So we're going to win this game. Because they're going to make less mistakes.
Yeah, win from Drew. This is the one that I'm most hemming and hawing over. I'm terrified of what that offense can do to us. And our secondary is the worst part of our defense.
Is it though?
Yeah.
DJ Reed. I think our linebackers are worse. I think our linebackers are worse than our defensive backs.
I mean, maybe. So we have great safeties. Yeah. I think our cornerbacks are easily to be picked on, and they greatly improved over last year as the year went on last year. So, but I don't know, man. It does come down to how well Cincy starts out. Their defense played better the last 4 or 5 games of the season, and they damn near made. They what?
They had the easiest schedule in the NFL in like the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So I mean,
which is good because their defense was not good.
Right.
But overall, their defense was overall the 22nd best defense. So they weren't the 32nd. So I'm going to call this.
I think their defense is going to be worse. You think that this team is going to get Trey Hendrickson back?
Yeah, I think they'll figure something out with him.
At what point? I mean, like we're already past the draft.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a Chris Jones thing. I think it's going to be a Chris Jones thing, just like in Kansas City. He sat out 1 week. They lost to us, and like we just can't have this. Let's figure this out. I think if he's out for more than 1 week, I'll be shocked. I don't think he's going to be I'm sitting out the whole season like I threatened. They'll figure something out after 1 week, whether they win or lose.
I think he's going to be a Packer, is what I think.
I'd love to see him be a Lion, but I don't see that happening because
they don't have the cap space to sign him to an extension. So
yeah, I'm actually going to call this a loss.
That's right. This is where I'm going to be real tight back right here.
Exactly. I'm just terrified of what they can do offensively, and I know we've got a great offense too. But if they get any pressure on us and they take us off serve, I think we're going to be.
Lions don't have to throw; they can win this game running the football. I mean, how is Cincinnati going to stop Gibbs and Montgomery? I mean, like, why would the Lions need to throw? And they're going to. I mean, they're gonna throw. I mean, they're gonna mix shit up and go to like St. Brown and Laporta or whatever. But like, I don't know that there's a single matchup on defense across their entire defense where I look at myself and I say Cincinnati's defense has an advantage here. And like I know that the Lions, when you look on the other side of the fence and you're like, where does Detroit have an advantage against Cincinnati's offense? I have one at least, and it's Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
So like I just don't think they have the guns to stay in the game. I mean, is their offense great? Sure. But like, I mean, Detroit was 15-2 last year for a reason. And like, I don't see any reason how Cincinnati is going to force Detroit to be one-dimensional.
Yeah.
So I guess the one way would be something like they get the kickoff, they score a touchdown, we get the ball, turn it over, they score a touchdown. Now we're down 2 scores. That's about the only script that
That's the shit that I'm afraid of.
Well,
and that's happened before, right? So
I'd rather bet on us than not.
So and we may have the opposite here with Kansas City. So in Kansas City against the defending Super Bowl runners-up, right?
Yeah.
And either the first or second best quarterback in the NFL. Where do you have us on this one? Another yardstick game.
Yes. So when we were talking about the playoff matchups last year, it was like the division. I think it was the divisional going into the divisional round where we were playing Washington. We were like, well, once we beat Washington, what do you want the matchups to be? I think we all said we wanted to play the Chiefs because the Lions match up with the Chiefs so much better than they do against teams like Buffalo or Baltimore.
Right.
I still believe that. So, like,
Yes.
to me, the underrated thing that people do not give the Chiefs credit for is their defense was good.
Yeah.
You know? So, here's my thing. Like,
They
is
were the
this
number 2 defense, by the way, PFF
right?
grade.
Is this a Tate Ratledge game? Like, that's my question. So, like, can the Lions leverage their running game to put them in the driver's seat against Kansas City? I believe yes. Now, they traded Joe Tooney, so they've lost a piece on the interior. We bring in someone like Tyleek Williams. Mm-hmm. We won't have I do not believe that we will have Aleem McNeil back for this half of the season.
Right.
So I also like
after the bye.
I don't know that we'll talk about it. So I like Aiden Hutchinson against either one of their tackles. They're either going to play rookie from Ohio State. Great. Give me that. Or they'll play their current piece of shit that they signed from San Francisco. Great. Give me that. Or they'll play the guy that they played last year. Or we'll match Aiden up against their right tackle who is terrible. Give me that. So, like, once again, does getting pressure matter? Because can Mahomes do Mahomesy things and get away from it? But they have really small but fast wide receivers, and I don't like their wide receivers as much. So if you can I would play too high in this one and keep Kirby back, and I would keep Branch back and let them do their roaming that they love to let them do. And I would try and bait Mahomes into mistakes. I would take a note from Philly and try and get pressure with 4 and just run the ball on them and dink and dunk them to death. I think it's a win. I think that I think it'll be close. But I'm thinking something like 27-24 or something like that.
Yeah, and so I think this is another yardstick game, and I think if I'm right on the previous one, with a loss to the Bengals on the road, this is back-to-back road games.
Yep.
And after losing on the road in Baltimore, should we be right? We're like, okay, the road's tough. It's really hard to win on the road, especially against elite teams. I think this is where we pull out that signature win after the loss to Baltimore, after the loss to Cincinnati. And I think we actually pull out a W here as well. So I thought you were actually going to have us as a loss. And I was like, this is where we switch things back again, where I pick a win and you pick a loss. I think it's going to be real close.
I do think it'll
like
be
you
close.
Said, 28-27 or something like that. They kicked 2 field goals. We had 4 TDs.
Right.
But I do think it's going to be a W. I think we're going to get a signature win here.
Yeah, I like this matchup. Well, I guess I don't like this matchup as well as I like the Cincinnati matchup. I just think Cincinnati's defense is awful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, and I can't say that about Kansas City. You know, and like, you might as well split hairs as far as the quarterback, as far as I'm concerned, between these two teams. Yeah. You know, but like the difference to me between Kansas City and Cincinnati is that Cincinnati's, I mean, like, the thing I'm worried about from Cincinnati is not necessarily Jamar Chase. I'm worried about like T. Higgins. Like that's the guy to me that I'm like, oh, we might want to watch out for. You might want to put another. Do you have another guy that you can add to like T. Higgins because he's killing us because we're paying so much attention at Chase.
Yeah. We're gonna put 3 high. Can we play 3 high?
They can play 3 high. They can play 3 high. Right? I can take a linebacker off the field. That's fine with me.
All right, week 7, our last game before the bye, because we get a week 8 bye, which is the latest we've had in a while.
Crush
at home against Tampa Bay.
Crush. Monday night game.
Yeah, and actually, Joseph brings up a good point. Dan Campbell teams don't lose 2 in a row, right? So if we're gonna
not since that first year.
Yep.
Or the first half of the second year. But since then it's been really good. Yep. I think these guys get fucking crushed. They beat Detroit and in Detroit week 2 this last season on a game that was basically like Detroit kicked field goals and didn't score touchdowns. When was the last time that happened?
We had a couple turnovers that game too, if I remember.
there might have been a strip sack in there that I just watched that game not too long ago,
Oh.
but it was just the offense seemed to stall out in the red zone for whatever reason, like inexplicably stall out. This was after this game. This was like, hey Dan, when's the offense going to get it going? And he was like, well, the offense might not get it going for a while or whatever. But like at this point in this season, coming off of at Kansas City on Monday night at home, having the fact that these guys beat us at our place last year, this just has the like sacrifice them to the gods kind of feeling to me. And I think this team, last year, Chris Godwin took advantage of Terry and Arnold in the second game. And Terry and Arnold, for as much as people like to malign Terry and Arnold, like played much better in the second half of the season than he played in the first half. Like in the first half, he committed something like 7 penalties. I think he committed 1 over the last 8 games last season.
He learned to not grab.
Right. So, and that's the thing. So like, if you're not committing those penalties, or if you commit those penalties, half as many of them, you know, like you're probably going to be pretty good, you know. And like, I don't think he'll be on. Well, he might be on the number 1 option, but like, it wasn't Mike Evans that did any damage to the Detroit Lions last year. It was Chris Godwin all by himself. And so like, I think this is just. Sorry, dude, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you're going to get punched straight in the teeth.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be another one of those more than a score, maybe not more than 2 scores, but you know, somewhere between 9 and 14 points.
Those are both 2 scores.
I mean, like 2 touchdowns, like more than 1 score, but not more than 2 touchdowns.
Okay, so this is a win for me. Yeah. We got a
bye. We got a bye.
Halfway through the season.
It's not week 5.
We're no longer a lamb.
You got exactly what you wanted, Drew.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
Now then we're going to come back from that bye week to a division game at home against Minnesota.
Sunday at
with
1.
A rookie quarterback. Yep.
So a rookie quarterback probably playing in like his 8th or 9th game. I don't know when Minnesota's bye is. I like JJ McCarthy, but you're a rookie. You're a rookie, bro. Yeah. I mean, sitting on the bench is not the same thing as taking snaps under center. So I mean, like, I love Justin Jefferson. I think Jordan Addison's great. They added to the interior of their offensive line. They brought in more to that defense, but you know, Aaron Glenn is not going to be. If Kelvin Shepard goes and been like, "Hey, Aaron, how do you beat this fucking Brian Flores cover 0 drop 8 defense that he likes to play?" Aaron Glenn's going to tell him, and they told him last year. I mean, it wasn't like Shepard wasn't in the room when they were figuring out how to beat the defense. So I mean, like, I think that the Lions have Flores figured out.
Yeah.
And so like you went from Sam Darnold playing the best of his career, inexplicably, like the Kevin O'Connell factor, and you get JJ McCarthy. So unless JJ McCarthy has a Stroud or Daniels rookie season, which is irregular,
right?
I am going to bet on the Lions to beat a rookie quarterback at home.
Yep.
So
I agree.
Even with all the weapons. So like, give me the Lions at home.
Yeah. And I have not, and granted, I didn't watch every JJ. I know you probably did. You probably watched every single game that he played in college.
Every snap
right?
JJ McCarthy's ever played at Michigan. So
yes. So and I did not. I do not have that. But the snaps that I did watch him play, he didn't super impress me. He didn't seem to me like this guy's a first round talent. He could be the face of a franchise. He seemed to me like a Sam Darnold. He's a guy. He's probably going to end up being in the middle of the pack for his career. And to have somebody that I think is probably peaks at the 16th best quarterback as the rookie, to me, it's a no-brainer. I think we walk through this one. And I could be wrong about his long-term potential, but that's kind of the way that I saw
fine.
him.
We'll argue about that when he has it, you know.
All right, so we got another dub. Back-to-back dubs. Actually, back-to-back. So we're on a roll here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go on the road in Washington against a team that curb stomped us and embarrassed us in the playoffs in our year. With a great quarterback. Like, obviously, it's 1 year, but like, he played phenomenal. So what are we thinking in Washington?
So when I watch like people do all 22 breakdown of that playoff game, the Washington lines up in their offensive sets in a different way than anybody else in the NFL. And that's 100% Cliff Kingsbury.
Yep.
So here's my question. They added Deebo Samuel. I think they added tight end in the draft. They traded for Laramie Tunstall. And then I think they added some pieces on defense to replace things that they lost. But are those pieces bringing your floor up where you're going to like if Detroit and Washington played 10 times, how many times?
Yep.
What is the record between these two
I think
teams
last year we went 8 out of 10 of those, maybe 9 out of 10. I think
sure.
To me, last year was this fluke. We were super hurt too, which didn't help at all. But we picked the worst time to have our most important player have his worst game, and I don't think that happens 10 out of 10 times, right? So I think 8, 9 out of 10 times last year we beat them. So the question then is, now that we're healthy, to your point, all these offseason moves that they did, does that bring them up to make that we win 8, 9, out of 10 times? Is that drop down to 50-50 now? Like, or are we still a 8 or 9 out of 10 times we're going to beat them kind of team, right?
If this team is good enough to beat Detroit every other time that they play, I would be surprised. They do have, I like their skill position players. Terry McLaurin is an underrated wide receiver in the NFL. He's good.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is a running quarterback who has a lot of poise. You're not going to rattle him. That's good. They just traded for one of the better left tackles in the NFL. That's good. How's their defense going to look? I mean, are they going to have any pass rush? I don't know. I'm not in love with their pass rush. I can they stop Detroit? If you take away the inexplicable turnovers that Jared Goff had in that game, what does the game look like? I don't remember what the score was. But if Detroit doesn't if Detroit doesn't have if Washington's turnover differential isn't something like 3 or 4.
We had 5 turnovers total?
What is
three
what
interceptions
does the game look like?
And 3 Goff interceptions, 1 Jamison Williams interception, and then
that's
a fumble
right.
or something.
It was that fucking game.
Yeah.
So that was just a bad decision. He never should have been put in that spot.
Correct.
So, and like an interception for a wide receiver, who gives a shit? But like turnover, to your point, right, in the wrong direction. So if the turnover differential is neutral, I think that the Lions just win, because what I think is going to happen is that I'm just going to tell me the team that the Lions are going to play that their defensive line is not going to be ground under by our offensive line. And let's just assume
Philly,
that it's
and
just
that's about the only one that I can think of.
The right side of that line, Ragnow, Ratledge, Sewell, might just destroy people.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, the Los Angeles game to start off the season last year where they went to overtime.
Yep.
Detroit ran the ball 6 to 8 times in a row right down the field into the end zone in that game. So, I mean, they had just worn out the defensive line of the Rams in what essentially counted as the 5th quarter, right?
Yeah.
I think that this is what's going to happen. If I was Detroit, I would try and run the ball a ton, keep Jaden Daniels off the field as much as possible, control what elements I can put controls on, and just beat them up, make them break, and then just 10-9 or some shit. That's the kind of game I want to play against Washington. I'm calling it a win.
I would as well. I've got that as a W. It's a revenge game for us. Where do you think, out of 32 teams, for overall defensive PFF grade, where do you think they ranked?
Washington?
Yep.
5th?
29th.
What? So they were so far on the spectrum, right?
Yep.
They were so when they were winning games and that kind of thing, like, because they were like 12-5 last year, weren't they?
They were 12-5.
So like their offense was carrying them so hard.
Yep.
So
They were the 29th best run defensive team as well. And let me scroll here. They were 14th best pass rush. And then coverage grade, they were 27th. So overall, they were 29th out of 32 for PFF grade on the year last year. So
why would you go empty backfield, bro? I mean, like the backfield is like some of the best shit that we do.
Oh, I think that's what he's saying. That's what we did.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
That was the turnover in the red zone maybe that he was talking about. We had a fumble? No, we didn't fumble. I don't remember what it was.
We turned the ball over just about anybody.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was rough. So I have this as a revenge game. Yeah. I think it's going to be a win. And I think we will win by a larger margin than the differences between our teams. Like,
okay,
we'll win by like 12 points or 14 points or something, even though we're not really 2 touchdowns better than them. But I think we're just going to be so pissed we're just going to do it. So
okay.
I've got us as a W there.
Okay.
Speaking of the one team whose defensive line could probably give our offensive line a beating, Philadelphia on the road. So we're going to go back to back against playoff teams, NFC East teams, Super Bowl champs.
There's one reason why I believe this will be a loss. 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons. Number one, these 2 teams are too similar. Philly's D-line lost guys. They lost Josh Sweat. They lost Milton Williams. They have guys still. They have, and they lost Brandon Graham. They still have guys. Like they are never, but those guys are little. They are small pass rushers. There might be an advantage there for Detroit. If Detroit's O-line can get their hands on their pass rushers, donezo.
Yeah.
I don't know that our defensive line is going to be able to dent their offensive line. Their offensive line is excellent.
Yep.
So I think that both O-lines are going to outperform the D-line, so I don't really know that there's an advantage there. Here's the difference to me. Jalen Hurts is going to hurt the Detroit Lions with his legs.
Yep.
He's going to hurt them with his legs.
And Saquon Barkley, as good as
Jameer Gibbs Saquon Barkley, right?
As good as Jameer Gibbs is, Saquon Barkley is still the best running back in the NFL right now. It may not be by a mile, but it's enough, right?
Yeah.
When we take a look at the defensive side of the ball, they were the number 1 graded overall defense at a 90.4.
Yeah.
The second best NFL team, NFL defense, overall defensive grade was 79.5. That's how much better their defense was overall. Their coverage was at a 92.8. The number 2 team was only at 84.8. Like, their defense was like amazing. So, and they didn't get too much worse over the offseason. So, I've also got this. You have this as a loss. I've got this as a loss.
Yeah, I think that it's going to take a very specific game plan to beat a world champion. So
the good news is I think the back-to-back losses will be avoided yet again in the Dan Campbell the last couple of years era, because the New York Giants are just going to be absolutely demolished. This is going to be 21 points or more.
So some things about the Giants I like. Russell Wilson is not terrible. Is he great? Not anymore. They have a great receiver in Malik Neighbors, a great one. I think he's got a chance to be like a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah. They have a great defensive line, a great one. I think it'll give our line problems, our offensive line problems. End of list. So I think the Lions are. I think the what I would do in this game is I would just throw all over these guys. So I mean this has all the feelings of like St. Brown's going to have 12 catches for 120 yards. JMO caught a 50-yard touchdown. Laporta had like 6 catches for 75 yards and 2 TDs, and then of course like Gibbs and Monty are going to be like putting us in like favorable down and distance, or Gibbs could break one off at a moment. I think what if Gibbs can get past their defensive line, it's like, oh, this could be a big game. So, who did they draft in the draft this year? Is it Carter? It's not Hunter. So it went.
Carter,
quarterback.
Abdul Carter.
Yeah, so this is the Abdul Carter team. So this will be, it's week 12, so he's adjusted as far as I'm concerned. So like he could be an issue. They have Dexter Lawrence, who's a good interior defensive player, like Brian Burns. Kayvon Thibodeau's still on the roster. As a third pass rusher, that's not bad to have. They drafted the kid from Toledo, Darius Alexander, to be the dude that plays alongside Dexter Lawrence. But like, I just don't like any other part of their team. So, I mean, outside of wide receiver, I guess. So like, to me, like, unless their defensive line just wins the entire game for them, like I think the Lions will find something to exploit it. So like, if you want to call it 21 points, I'll be right there with you. So,
their overall defensive grade ranking last year was 20th. But their coverage, they were let me click over to coverage. They were the 28th best coverage. So I think you're right. I think we're going to pass all over them.
Yeah.
So week 12, I think, is a blowout dub. Week 13 at home, Green Bay.
This is
Thanksgiving.
Crush. Give it to me. Green Bay has a problem with identity on both sides of the ball. Like, who are they?
Yeah.
So, like, if they have not figured it out by this point in the season, to me, they're not in the playoff race. And it's starting to look like, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to put starters? Or we want to save people? Like, what? I don't know. Like, all of a sudden, this guy goes on the injured reserve list, or he's cropping up with injuries. Like, we haven't figured out the Jair Alexander issue. Like, it's like between week 1 and week 13 in the NFL, different seasons. Like, now you've got injuries on the roster. Now, like, you understand like the way that your season's going, what you have left to play for. So like, and like, I'm sorry to say this, like, I at my new job, we've got a Packers fan. He seems like a relatively cool guy, but like, I just don't know that I don't know that this team just has the fucking pride in themselves in order to like stand up and like take a hit and give another one back.
Put a dagger in, right?
Also, fuck the Packers. I mean, like.
So I think this is going to be. I know you said, "Hey, crush." I think this is going to be a real close game, for 2 reasons. Number one, they're a division rival. Number 2, it's Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle on Thanksgiving. We have had real close games, and I think we've lost the last couple of our Thanksgivings. And I think that's also where
we didn't lose last year.
Jared Goff struggles. Did we win last year? I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was the year before that we lost to Chicago.
I can't remember who we lost to last year in the second loss. It was Tampa Bay and who? It wasn't in the division.
2024.
Danny, who was it?
We
wasn't Seattle.
Played Buffalo.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
In Buffalo. No, at home, actually.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a W, but I think it's going to be real close. We struggled. We haven't blown out teams on Thanksgiving. It's going to be real close. Everybody is going to be up for it, and it's going to be big. They're going to be upset because we beat them in week 1. And Jared Goff and primetime. I mean, to be honest, I know Kirk Cousins gets crap for being like, oh, primetime Kirk Cousins is terrible. I don't think there's much difference between primetime Kirk Cousins and primetime Jared Goff. And that's where he struggles the most. And this is one of those games. So I think we're going to win, and I think he'll play fine. But I think it's going to be a field goal type of margin.
Yeah, to
But
me,
I'll take a W any way we can get it. They don't ask how, they ask how many.
I just don't think this team. I think they're a bunch of frauds. Like, to be honest, like I think that their coach is a fraud. I think that like we don't know who Jordan Love is. What do they do well on either side of the ball?
I mean,
when are these
people
guys?
think the Lions are frauds too.
I know they are, but they're wrong.
Right?
But like I'm right about the Packers. So
I think it's also because F the Packers, right? So.
right.
All right, so we lose to Philadelphia, but we get on our winning ways. We win in New York. We win in Green Bay. Dallas at home.
Detroit teed off on these guys last year and humiliated them in Dallas, I believe, or maybe it was in Detroit. Like they hook and ladder these guys. They threw to offensive linemen. I think there was a fake punt at some point. Like they just were like, this was the most disrespectful I've seen one team behave towards another where fists were not thrown.
It was awesome. It was so good.
And I hope that the left guard that these guys drafted in the first round saves them all of what they. Okay, they traded for George Pickens. Neat. So
good luck.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb is the guy. I mean, like in this off, like, can they run the ball? I don't think so. Can they stop the run? I don't think so. They have two $90 million corners that the Lions abused last year. Like, and one of them, I think it's Deron Bland. He just does not want to tackle anybody. So, I mean, like, I have no respect for like the quote unquote grit quotient that the Dallas Cowboys have. And like, I think this is another huge win. Like, I think the Lions hate the Cowboys organizationally.
We are still pissed about the call that cost us the number 1 seed a couple years ago.
Yeah. So like, to me, this is anytime they see that star, it's a target, and it's like, all right, we're going to go out there and be like, we got screwed. However you want to break that down. 2 years ago, we humiliated them last year. Had Diggs making business decisions all day. That's right. And like, I think that their corners are baitable, weak, not physical.
Micah Parsons is the only person on that entire team that you have to worry about.
Yeah, like he didn't play last time.
Yeah, he was
I
hurt.
don't think.
Yeah.
So like
47-9, by the way.
That's a big deal.
Score was.
Yeah. But he's up for a contract and unhappy. Like the owner of the team is like saying that he doesn't know the Micah Parsons agent's name. Like that's disrespectful when you say it in public to a guy that you've worked with for years.
Yeah.
So how does that? I mean, like, could we see a true holdout? Probably not. But like, is Micah Parsons like being like, oh, I'm going all out in order to beat the Lions in this game? I don't know.
Yeah, if there's a holdout, he's not still holding out at week 14.
Probably not.
Right.
It would be the first time we've seen it in
since was it Lev Bell that held out for a whole season and then came back and did nothing for the rest of his career?
The only difference between him and Antonio Brown is that like he hasn't had the on-field antics that Brown did.
Yeah,
but he's still nuts. So.
So another dub, the blowout in Dallas or at home against Dallas, takes us on the road into LA.
I know what you're going to do here, and you're wrong.
Okay, what do you think I'm going to do? What do you think the right answer is?
You're going to say that the Lions are going to go on the road, and like because it's in LA. That it's going to be different. Matthew's great. The Jared Verse is great. The team's made improvements. All that good. All of that is true. All of that is true, and it doesn't matter because the Lions have won. The Los Angeles Rams have not addressed the thing that lost them the game to the Detroit Lions last year, which is they are not going to be able to stop the Lions running game. So it's going to have to be a shootout.
Yeah.
And the Lions are going to make fewer mistakes than the Los Angeles Rams.
I don't know. This is one of them I'm worried about.
Right. Well, the Lions were playing some of the worst football they played all season in the first week last year. And you can make the argument for the Rams too, but the Lions won that game, and so I still ask the question, what kind of game are you going to get from Matthew Stafford? He's great. He's great, but he still will make inexplicable throws and make inexplicable decisions. And are the Lions going to put him in a situation where he tries a no-look pass and it's picked off? That kind of thing. And Detroit had excellent run defense, and so Kyron Williams has not proven that he is going to hurt a team like the Detroit Lions. The advantage the Los Angeles Rams have is in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua.
Yes.
So they both have to be healthy. Adams is a veteran who's, I don't know how old is he, 31, 32 years old now?
In that area.
Nacua is great when he's on the field. Is he going to stay healthy at this point in the season? So we don't know that because we're nowhere near that season. To me, for the Los Angeles Rams to have a chance, they have to have healthy Stafford, Adams, and Nacua, and that's the recipe. All game, no deviation.
And Jared Verse as well, right? So because if they can't get the pressure on Goff, I don't think they force Goff into mistakes.
So I would put Jared Verse on Decker.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're not going to put him on Sewell.
Well, right, but traditionally that's where Verse plays, is on that side, on the right side of the line.
Yeah.
So, but I would switch him for this game because of who Penei Sewell is.
Yeah.
And I think that the Los Angeles Rams defense is good.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's so good that you can be like, okay, we stopped the running game and we stopped St. Brown and we stopped whatever else it is. Right? Yeah. If the Lions are like, oh, they're doing really well, Jared Verse is crushing Decker, so we'll switch to a run. Can they? My problem and the way that is that the Lions offensive line is going to outweigh the Rams defensive line by 40 pounds on average per player.
Yeah.
And over 4 quarters, what toll does that take?
Yeah.
So that's where I think the Lions' advantage is. And if the Rams can overcome it, then I want to see what the formula is to do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is a win for me.
Yeah, and I've got this as a loss in part because I think for all the reasons you said that it's impossible, right? What the Rams have to do. I think Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are going to be real tough. When we played them last year, they didn't have Cooper Kupp; they only had Nacua, which obviously did not help them any. Devontae Adams is still a stud. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I also think that it's really hard to win on the road. So it's not something where you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because
there will be more Lions fans at this game than Rams fans.
That is true. That doesn't make it any easier to travel to the West Coast and beat.
I don't know. Hearing people cheer for you in the stands seems to be a pretty big advantage.
I get that, but I think also the Rams won more playoff games than we did, and
they lost 5 more games in the regular season, though. Let's split the difference. They didn't win the Super Bowl, so does it matter how far you went in the playoffs? Does it matter how many wins and losses you had in the regular season if you didn't win the Super Bowl?
My point is they're not a scrub team. They weren't.
I don't think they are a scrub team.
I know. I'm just saying, and a lot of people are like, oh well, they're just not that good. They're a great team. They're going to win their division. They didn't just get into the playoffs. They got into the playoffs won a game, and damn near they were 2 plays away from beating the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they win, I think if
Yeah,
they beat the
I've
Eagles,
heard this
I think they
argument
win the
before.
Super
They win
Bowl,
the Super Bowl.
right?
Sure,
I do,
to me
right?
that's ridiculous. But like, they won their division because their division is terrible.
This is
Their
true.
division is the Seahawks, who now have Darnold at quarterback, the Geno less Seahawks, the rebuilding 49ers, and of course the ever-present Arizona Cardinals. So they're by far they're the best team in their division.
Correct. Yes.
But like, when you look at this team outside of the Nakua, Adams, Stafford trio and Jared Verse, which I grant you are all good things, the rest of the roster is not that good. I like their defensive line. I think their offensive line played better at the end of the season when they had a very easy schedule and ripped off like 5 wins in a row in order to make the playoffs. But they had to do that in order to make the playoffs. And the reason for it is because they were roughly a 500 team 2/3 through the season. And like, at the heart of who the Rams are, that's who they are, is a 500 team who can get hot. And they typically get hot when it matters the most, which they did last year, to their credit. However, when I put them up against the roster top to bottom, right? Like, I think that the Lions are better top to bottom on their roster than the Los Angeles Rams are. And of all the teams in the NFL, like Los Angeles, whether it's the Chargers or the Rams, almost do not have home field advantage because for whatever reason, people in LA just don't give a shit about football.
Yeah. Well, so they can make more money selling their tickets to opposing fans.
Which is what's going to happen, which means that this is not really traveling on the road. This is a home game for the Lions. Like so many other games were on the road last year for Detroit, and this one is going to be. So
I think this is going to be a nail biter, and I think it's going to be a 3 points or less difference.
And it might be, but like if those games that are nail biters are, the Lions are going to win them against these teams because they're going to win on the margins more often than this team is capable of.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just on the other side of that dial. It'll be a slight edge on the Rams, and a lot of it'll come down to health, right? That's going to be a big piece of it. A lot of it'll come down to scheme. And did our new defensive coordinator scheme a good enough game against the Rams? Did our new offensive coordinator scheme a good enough game against the Rams? Hopefully, by week 15, they're gonna know our strengths and weaknesses and what we can do better than they do in week 1, kind of thing. But
so the Lions are not going to pressure Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford gets the ball out as fast as almost any quarterback in the NFL. I would just drop 8.
Yeah.
I would basically play something like a 3-4 against this team, and I would have something like 5 or 6 DBs and the complement of linebackers, and I would play Aiden, Tyleek, and then Reader Pascal, Reader Davenport, in some combination. One of those guys is on the field. And I would be like, okay, if you can get there with 3, fine. But like, Matt's going to get the ball out in 2.5 seconds or less anyways. So it doesn't matter.
Right.
So what we really need to do is gum up his sight lines and his throwing lanes.
Yep.
And, he's going to have to, quote unquote, not make a mistake all game. And then can they, I don't know how the Rams stop the Lions offense either.
Yeah.
So
I think this is gonna be one of the most fun games to watch for me. I do love Matthew Stafford. I love watching him play and having 2 guys like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams to throw to. That'll be fun for the Rams fans to watch. And there's always that notion of revenge, right, from both sides. So I think this is gonna be one of the most fun games to watch. I think it's gonna be real tough. The Rams they're one of the teams I believe is one of the overseas teams, right? So they're going to have they might be a little bit tired.
It's true.
But I don't remember which week that is. So hopefully for them, they're back and
I think this
not
is
just coming back from it, right?
I think it's in the middle of the season. I think they'll be
fine.
past their London trip.
And I did not look at any of those weeks that follow those overseas games. Did they at least go, all right, you were overseas, we're going to give you your bye week next week? Like,
Oh,
to
I
me,
don't
that's
know.
how I would do it, because you don't want to really F over a team by going, oh, you're going to go over there, you're going to fly all the way back and then play Thursday night or something stupid like that, right?
Well,
So,
Minnesota has back-to-back games in London.
well, at least they don't have to travel back. Like, they
Right.
stay there. But when they do come back, I mean, I'm not a Minnesota fan, so I don't want them to get any advantages. But I mean, hell, they should get a bye week right after that. Let them get back and readjust. But I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be real close. I'm going to go with the Rams primarily because I think they've got the better quarterback, and I love Dan Campbell. I think they've got the better coach, uh, by a real tight margin, and they're going to be at home. And even if the fans are going to be just as many Lions fans as Rams fans, I think it's going to be real tough. And also, to me, the other thing is, I think in December, Stafford has won like 11 of the last 12 games in December or something for them. When it counts, the dude just doesn't lose. And if their
Okay.
playoffs is maybe on the line, I think it's really tough to get that guy to lose. So I've got LA there. It could be it's a
Okay.
coin flip, right? To me,
To you, yes,
yes, and we'll
because
see.
you're a fan of Matthew Stafford, and I think that
I
all
well,
of the coloring book is colored in Matthew Stafford colors on that one. So,
I agree that there's a good chunk of that way,
mm,
but I am a
mm.
Lions fan. I
Well,
want us to win. I
I
just
wonder if we, so like the ancient Egyptians believe that when you died, you went to like this dude and he weighed your heart to see how good or evil you were. If if we weighed your
if the
heart,
NFL gods weighed my heart,
if we weighed
is
your
Stafford's
heart
on one side of the
on the
Lions? How does it
scale,
go?
I'm pretty sure I know which way those scales are tipping.
And I've said this
I'm
right.
pretty
I,
sure.
I've said this right from the start. Stafford's probably my all-time favorite Lion.
Uh-huh.
I want him to do well.
Yeah.
What I want to see is I want 380 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and a loss. That's what I want, right?
I'm thinking that I'm gonna start keeping track of how many times you pick against the Los Angeles Rams in any capacity.
All right.
Because I think that stat would be very telling.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember how I predicted their schedule last year, but who is it? Maurice Jones-Drew actually picked them to go 15-2 this year.
He's insane.
I agree. I don't think they're going to be 15-2. I think they're going to be probably 12-5 or 13-4.
Maurice Jones-Drew is like the fourth grader that's like, no, I like the colors better on this team, so they're going to win. Like,
you should draft him because he looks sharper. I like his draft outfit.
If you said, if we were playing a game, like, did Maurice Jones-Drew say this? I would have a really tough time being like, oh, this is the thing that he actually said, but I thought this thing that was less crazy wasn't the thing that he said. So, I mean,
It'd be a tough game.
He's nuts. So,
yeah. I think that I'm not sure there's any team that's going to go 15-2. That's really hard to do.
Well, I'm on pace to have the Lions be 15-2. I mean, 14-3 or something. So,
all right. So, we disagree on the road game at the LA. Yep. Pittsburgh at home.
Crush. This team. Who's their quarterback? Who's their quarterback right now? It's Mason Rudolph is who it is.
Yeah.
So all day.
Yeah, I remember him. He was at the very, very bottom of the top 32 list, right?
Worst version Jared Goff playing on a team that now okay, so they traded for DK Metcalf. I like that guy.
Yep.
You traded away George Pickens. Okay, that was kind of the writing was on
addition
the wall
by
there,
subtraction.
Right? Like their defense, TJ Watt's good. They had a lot of good pass rushers. That could be a real big problem. So I would run the ball against them. Still got Cam Hayward on that line. Still got some other players on that line that are pretty good against the run. I would try and attack this team in their secondary. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is a bitch. Like, He's a business decision maker back there. Where I got that opinion from was like a year or two ago. Like Josh Allen broke loose on something, and Fitzpatrick could have come up and hit him, and chose not to. And like Allen took it down to the 2 or scored or something like that. And I was like, that's a bitch play. What are you doing? And so, I mean, that's just who I think they are. And like Joey Porter is a guy, but not great. And like, I just don't think they have.
Yeah.
I don't see how they're going to cover our wide receivers or anybody.
Yeah.
And then like they let go of Najee Harris, and I don't know who the other guy they signed is. I think they drafted a guy to play running back for him, but I like Jalen Warren, but he's like the Gibbs of their team. That's the role that he fills. And like DK Metcalf can be a problem, but like, to be honest, I don't know that he's ever really worried me when we played the Seahawks. And now he has who the fuck knows throwing to him. You know, like I'll go up against DK Metcalf all the time if Mason Rudolph is throwing in the ball. You know, like tell me where this team hurts the Lions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's just their defensive line. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Yeah. The only way I see them beating us is if Mason Rudolph has this weird Matt Flynn type of game. Remember when Matt Flynn threw like 500 yards and like 5 touchdowns out of the fucking blue?
He had a brand new deal.
It did. Just in time for them to draft Russell Wilson and bench him.
Yeah.
Over in Seattle. Like, that's the only way I see this happening. Mason Rudolph is going to randomly have this Matt Flynn monster game. What the hell just happened? And I just don't see that happening, right? Like, but that's the only way I see something like that, us losing this game. So I've got us as a W there too.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into, it's almost playoff time. On the road against Minnesota, who is probably, are they fighting for a playoff spot at this point, Drew? Or are they just out because they've got a rookie quarterback and they're just not good enough?
So tell me what you think the NFC North teams will finish in order of win-loss record at the end of the season.
I think
just
it'll be
first, second, third, fourth.
Yep. Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago.
I have it exactly the same, except that I think Chicago can supplant Minnesota this season.
I think they could as well.
So if they're the 4th team in the division, no chance they're in the playoff contention. If they're the 3rd team, Green Bay has to have a season like Minnesota did last year. They have to be the number 1 non-conference, non-division leading team in the conference.
Yeah.
So is that a reality? So like I think the division winners are going to be Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, LA. Okay. So then who's next? Washington?
Yep. They're almost outside of massive injuries, they're in, right?
Green Bay. And then who in the South and who in the West?
Tampa Bay?
Maybe Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
If it's something like Atlanta,
but nobody
Tampa
in the
Bay
West
tied, and like Atlanta has the tiebreaker or something. But
unless San Francisco does this whole 180, everybody's healthy, everybody plays to the peak of what they could do, and I just don't see Kyle Shanahan getting his team to do that. I could see the 49ers being a surprise squeak in kind of team, but I don't think that's going to be them.
I don't. So
yeah.
To me, I don't think there's any chance. Last week of the season, we're talking about the Vikings like we were last year.
Right.
Rookie quarterback. Minnesota's not that far from Detroit. One of these, I think it was Green Bay last year, had to ask their fans not to sell their tickets to Lions fans.
Yep, it was Green Bay.
So, like, that's fucking Green Bay, dude. Like, that's a fan base that has pride in their team, right? So
you got Lions fans travel well, and they're willing to spend money to do it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're a Green Bay fan and you're just like, these tickets cost me $150, but I can get $600, I'll watch it from home. Right? I'll watch it from home with the $600 in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think. Oh, geez, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not going
Cousins
to
had a
touch.
rough year last year and ratcheted up his turnovers.
So I think the Minnesota season goes as JJ McCarthy goes. The things that I think are on the pro column is he plays for Kevin O'Connell. He's been in the league a year, so I mean, like this year, he can go into camp healthy. He has the he doesn't have like the rookie jitters or that shit or whatever.
Right.
So like, at what point in the learning curve is he entering the season? Like, can they build on any momentum with him? They run the ball well. Aaron Jones runs the ball well, and now they've improved their offensive line. Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson are all excellent pass catchers. I
Yeah,
like their
Slater on the
offense.
offensive line, right? They got a
Yeah.
strong offensive line.
Yeah, their tackles are great. They went out and they spent money to address the interior.
Yeah.
They went out and they signed 2 defensive tackles. They're not run stuffers, they're pass rushers. So like the formula for beating their defense is the same. Is can you recognize when they're cover 0 and coming, or cover 0 and they're going to drop 8? Because they do both of those things the most in the NFL. So
Yep.
as long as you know which one they're doing or you guess right, you're fine. And so far, the Lions over the last 4 games they played have done that.
Yep.
So to me, like, I think Minnesota is closer on like a roster v roster comparison to the talent level that the Detroit Lions have, but they haven't demonstrated that their kitschy kind of defense is the can beat the Lions offense, and you have a rookie quarterback that is a question mark. So for those 2 reasons, I think the Lions are going to win. So I think I have the Lions at like 14-3 or 15-2.
Yeah, and for all of those same reasons, I've got us winning there. And to your point, like, are they going to be fighting for a playoff spot? Probably not.
No.
If they were, it's going to be a hell of a lot closer game. If they're not, I think you take a little bit of fight out of the dog when there's no bone, right? So I think you get a little bit easier of a go at it, which bodes well for our odds of winning. So it is really tough to sweep your division, though. Last year we did it. That was the one thing I called early on our like wild takes episode or whatever.
Oh yeah, we should do that again this year.
Yeah, we'll do that again. But I called us sweeping the division, and we did it. And that's the first time we've swept a division in maybe in our history. So it's tough to do, but I think we do it again this year, and I think we get the dub.
When I look at, so first of all, I am very impressed with the offseason acquisitions that both the Bears and the Vikings had. Yeah. And I think that all 3 of the other quarterbacks in this division have higher ceilings than Goff for their career. However, I think all 3 of them also have very much lower floors than him, and none of them have shown that their floor or that their ceiling is equal to Jared Goff's floor yet.
Yeah.
And
the floor rises with experience, right? As you get experience, your floor gets higher because you're just doing less dumb shit.
So I'm very worried about like Caleb Williams in year 4 or 5. Very worried about what potentially JJ McCarthy could look like on that roster in year 4 or 5. Because like as we have seen, as the roster improves around them, like it's going to help mitigate their failures and improve what they're good at. So I mean, Kevin O'Connell has not failed with a quarterback yet. Right. Like the reason that he's a head coach is because he's good at developing quarterbacks. So I mean, like Sam Darnold, like got some what's left out of Kirk Cousins. It looks like that type of thing. Joe Flacco of all the teams in the division, I think that the roster that compares the most favorably in a matchup against the Detroit Lions is the Minnesota Vikings. The problem for the Vikings is, what is their quarterback situation? We don't know. If it's really good, they're the threat.
Yeah.
So like, and if it's just a normal rookie season for a quarterback, they're the bottom of the division. So until it's shown otherwise, I will continue to pick the Lions. So I think that that's right, we go 18 weeks. Sorry, I thought we were
18
done.
weeks. No, we got one more.
Okay.
In Chicago, we were talking about sweeping the division.
Yeah.
We have to win in Chicago to do that at this point, and I think we do. I think there again. I've got them fourth in our division. I know it's gonna be on the road. I know it's gonna be in January. It's gonna be cold and it's gonna be snowy, and that's the thing that maybe leans it towards Chicago a little bit. But at the same time, man, Montgomery in the snow, I'm not afraid of that, right? Like in golf, like our offense is built around short, quick throws, not downfield heaves. So in January, I would rather have my guy throwing 12-yard slants instead of 30-yard bombs, and that's what we do. So I don't think any of that January issue is gonna be a problem with us. So I think we sweep them. I just don't think their ceiling is high enough. Like as a team, I don't think their ceiling is high enough to just beat us yet. So I got us as a W there.
I have this as a W too. I guess the only thing about the Bears that I'm concerned about. Yeah, I mean, I think Joe's right on that one. But is there anything that Ben Johnson has the Lions haven't seen? I mean, how much at this point have you not tapped into like your creativity as an offensive play caller?
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson calling plays for Caleb Williams is the thing that will unlock Caleb Williams. But is the stuff that he's going to do with Caleb Williams so different from anything that he did in Detroit that the Lions can't be like, well, I think Ben probably will do this,
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah, and Danny does bring up a good point.
They
in
don't
week
do
18,
that. Are
we going to rest starters? And the answer is
they're not going to do it.
Have we considered that? Yes. I thought about it, laughed about it, and forgot about it.
Because they don't do it.
Right.
Like, Danny, put away this idea. They won't do it. They didn't do it last year. They're not going to do it this year. They don't even take they're up like 35 points against the Titans, and Goff is still in the game. I mean, Hooker didn't come into the game until like halfway through the fourth quarter.
He handed it off once.
A throwaway game against the bottom,
right?
Yeah. So it's not happening. Like, as much as I disagree with it, it's not happening. It's a grit thing.
Yeah. And professional players want to be on the field.
Yes.
They want to go out there. They want to build their legacy by building up their stats. They want to, not just their personal stats, but also W's, right? So those guys want to be out there. And to get them off the field, you have to literally yank them off or tell them they can't go. And I just don't think, and Campbell was one of those guys. So he knows what it would be like to have a coach tell him no, right? And like, no, you can't play.
Right.
What's up, Kenny 49ers?
Hey, man.
Appreciate you popping in, man.
Hope you're doing well.
Curious, what do you think the Niners are going to be? Are they going to win the division? What do you think their record's going to be in the Niners?
I think Kenny, I'm real sorry for this, dude, because you've been such a good person to us. Is Hutch going to be okay? Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's good. Don't worry about Hutch. He'll be back to normal. But I've got them third in the division.
Yeah, behind Seattle?
No.
Behind Arizona?
Yes.
Wow. I think they're going to be second in the division, and I think Arizona is still going to be last. Like LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and then Arizona.
Yeah, I think Arizona is like, which way are we going? Yeah. And I think that their offseason acquisitions, year 2 of Marvin Harrison, the improvements to the D-line that they made, I think it's trending in a direction that I believe it to be positive for where the NFL is looking for and winning rosters right now. So I still think it's like we're 9-8, So Yeah. I mean, to me, like Seattle's the worst team in that division. And then it's the Niners only because like they had lost so much. And like so we talked about window closing, and we can save this discussion for next week or whatever. But like to me, and Kenny, once again, very sorry about this, but like to me, the problem that the 49ers have is now they have paid Purdy. They have That's true. You have an easier schedule. That needs to be taken into account.
Yep.
I have not done that yet, so I apologize. This is just off the cuff. You've paid Purdy. You've paid Warner. You have a bunch of rookies on your D-line, but they're all good at the same thing. So at least it's good at something. But you lost, guy here, guy there out of the secondary. Like, is this guy coming back from injury? Is Ayuk going to look the same in year one back from injury, or is he going to be the Ayuk that we remember seeing? Kittle got extended. Like, is Kittle still the best tight end in football? Who knows? Probably. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given him the money. Trent Williams, will he ever fall off? Probably not. How are the other four guys on that line gonna play? So I mean, McCaffrey, love the guy, excellent player. Is he gonna stay on the field? Year two of Pearsall, hey, let's hope he doesn't get shot this offseason. He gets to go through like a full camp and that kind of thing. Juwan Jennings is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL, in my opinion. And like, even if your pass catchers were Kittle, Jennings, Pearsall, I would be pretty stoked, because that's kind of
and they still have Ayuk.
And they still have Ayuk, but like I think Jennings can be a 1. So I mean, and like I think the defense needs to retool, and they're in the process of doing that. But like, you still have the best linebacker in football. That matters. They have a guy.
And yet you still have them third behind Arizona.
Well, I mean, like, I think Purdy has a ceiling
Did you just convince yourself maybe that you'll flip those two? Or?
No, I'm not.
No?
So like,
all right.
I think that those are just every good thing that I could think of to say about the 49ers.
Sure, yeah.
But like, the thing about Arizona that, in my opinion, is I think the people, even people who pay attention to the NFL, don't give Arizona kind of the credit for the type of team they actually are, which is a running team. Like, James Conner is a very, very good running back that no one ever talks about, so no one thinks he's good. And I kind of subtly, low-key like the fact that, like, you have year two of Marvin Harrison, even though I think he's a bitch, and, like, didn't do anything in the pre-draft workout, and he went to Ohio State and then did basically nothing in his rookie year. Like, is year two the year that he breaks out? I tend to think better of Kyler Murray than he probably is, because he does the things that I think elevates a quarterback. Like, when he's good, he's great. And when he's bad, he's horrible. So, like, can he just even out a little bit? Purdy did get 53 over 5.
Well, Kenny was saying that he got 6 years, $45 million, but I thought it was 5 years, $53 million.
I think what he's saying is that with the year that Purdy's going to play on this upcoming season, that
gotcha.
over the course of last year of original deal plus the 5, it's 6 years at 45, not 5 at 53.
Gotcha.
So
that's what you're saying.
Would be my guess.
Yeah. And his new contract will pay him more every week than he made his entire rookie contract combined.
Yeah, congratulations! You can
awesome, John.
Without a roommate in San Francisco.
Yep. Awesome job, Purdy. That's
but
the dream,
like,
man.
Kenny says here, his last 2 sentences are front loaded. We have an out in after 3 years. Yeah, but you got to play him for 3 years. Like,
yeah.
I get it. I'm in the same. I'm in the same thing with my quarterback right now. So.
Yeah, no, I get
it. So I was talking about a window and I got all distracted.
Yeah.
But like, I think San Francisco has to answer the question, now that we've paid our quarterback a second contract, how do we keep the window open? Is it as open as it was a year or 2 years ago? That's the question they have to answer. They certainly have some building blocks to make it work, right? Here's where I think the Lions are different. The Lions, the PFF just came out with a list of like the top 25 players under 25. The Lions have, or maybe it was the top 50 players under 25. The Lions have 5 dudes on that list. So it's either 20% or 10% of the list is on our roster. So like that is why the Lions window remains however open it is as open as it has ever been, because they have their entire roster is good and young.
Yeah.
Outside of the quarterback. So
who is good but not young.
The big question for this team for the Lions in the near to distant future is how are you going to handle the quarterback transition? So it's going to be absolutely critical for the team. So
Drewster, we've already gone 2 hours and 20 minutes. And JMO isn't one of them. Yeah.
He's not.
So just to recap, you have us going 15-2 again.
Yeah, I do. I think that's right. And I think I tell myself there's going to be regression with the new coordinators and like, here's a rookie right guard and like, okay, McNeil's not playing, or let's assume he's out the whole season. Like, like whatever. Like we get Rodrigo back, we get Wingo back at some point, that kind of stuff. Like all these things are not conducive to helping the Lions win games. What's the same? The head coach. They're not changing schemes on offense or on defense. There's
Skill
continuity
positions.
because both coordinators were either on the roster the whole time or left for one season. So like Joe Morton's come out and they're like, we're not doing anything different with Jared Goff. So, okay, great. That's what I wanted to hear. And then when I look at the matchups and like how these other teams have changed compared to how the Lions have changed, the Lions almost didn't change at all. DJ Reed for Carlton Davis, Kevin Zeitler for Tate Ratledge. Okay, and then you've got some backup plans. We'll see what Tyleek Williams looks like Tesla. Is he going to impact anything or whatever? Like otherwise, the roster's the same. And that roster was 15-2 last year. And like the road schedule sucks, but if Detroit splits its road schedules with I think that Baltimore is better than they are. Who would I have them else losing against? Philadelphia. Right? And I having that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for me, I've only got 4 losses. I had them also losing to LA and losing to Cincy. I feel like with a murderer's row of road games, I think Green Bay is going to be good. Obviously we have to play them on the road because they're in our division. So we got Green Bay on the road. We've got Cincy. We got Baltimore. We've got Kansas City. We've got LA. We've got Washington, and we've got Philadelphia. And to think that we're only going to lose 2 of those games kind of blows my mind. So I feel like we're going to lose 4.
Sure.
And it's like, all right, and we agreed on 2 of them. And so I basically kind of picked 2 other games that I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to use 4 of these, which of the other 2 losses are there? And I think we could have picked Kansas City instead of LA. Maybe my Stafford colored glasses had me switch that. Right. But I just don't think that we can go 15-2 with the schedule that we have with so many of the, if all of those teams were home games, maybe a little bit different. Like I get that. But man, that's really tough to win on the road against such really good teams. So I would love to be like 15-2, bitch. Like I told you, after week 18, and you can do that to me, I will high five you and say, "Oh, it's so wrong. You were so right. This is amazing." Right? But I feel like 4 losses is reasonable to be excited about, even. Right?
Breaking news.
Ooh, breaking news.
NFL owners. Oh, shit. Never mind. I thought that it had happened. So tomorrow, the NFL owners will vote on the Detroit Lions now
playoff
compromised proposal to reseed the playoff format. I thought that it had said that they had passed it in a vote right now, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I agree. Mike, what you're saying makes sense. 13-4 makes a lot more sense than 15-2, but when I look at it, I just don't see it. So, I mean,
it's tough because you look at it in a vacuum, right? Like just head to head, like I feel like this should be a win.
right.
Did you know that Buffalo is the only team that is favored by Vegas in every single one of their 17 games?
Do you know that New England is favored in 11 of their games?
They must have the easiest schedule in the NFL.
They've got to have an easy one because they were dead fucking last in their division.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I think that makes sense. I mean, when I look at Buffalo, I still have a hard time basically saying, like, when I look at Buffalo, I'm like, how are they losing?
Right. Yeah.
You know, like,
but they're
just
not going to
don't
go
see-
undefeated. So, like, who's going
Right.
to beat them? Like,
Exactly.
which teams are that? And the same with us. Like, we can go toe to toe against anybody. We are as good as any team in the NFL. That said, we're not going to go 17-0. 15-2 is really hard to do, especially
Sure.
against the opponents that we have. So I feel like 13-4 is a reasonable expectation for what we're doing, and then you just have to
Sure.
figure out which of these sons of guns are we going to lose to, right? So
I agree.
I'll be
What
happy
you're
with
saying makes
13-4 in a division win, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah. You're
'cause
making.
I think that we're rolling.
winning the division at 13-4. There's no way you're not. So
Yeah, unless you're the Minnesota Vikings last year.
I just if Minnesota has a winning record this year, I think you have to start calling Kevin O'Connell one of the best coaches in the entire NFL. I mean, to do something like that with like Sam Darnold and go to where they went last year and then come back with a rookie quarterback coming off of an injury and to like get a winning record would be ridiculous. But I know he won't win it because if Dan Campbell can't win on a 15-2 season, there's no way that some 9-8 fucker in Minnesota should be able to get it.
Well, he won it last year. He had a great season. He coached well, and he took a dude. His story won it last year.
Well, that's the
Right.
whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing about those off-season or those end of season awards is narrative.
Yeah. Kenny asks, do you guys think the Bears have any chance of finishing anywhere but dead last?
I think they're good. I think the division goes Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota.
Yeah, and I've got Minnesota and Chicago last, but I also think that they were a 5-win team last year. They got better this offseason, but when you think about their 5 wins last year, their abysmal coaching staff cost them at least 2 games. They were realistically a 7 or 8 win team last year that their coaching threw down the toilet into the 5 wins. So now you think about it. Okay, they're a 7-win team that also got better. Okay, so now you're looking at 9 or 10 wins potentially. That's not last in the division for me, right?
I think Minnesota got significantly better in the offseason.
Minnesota or Chicago?
I'm sorry. I'm getting tired. Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah, so even if they were just a 5-win team and that 5 win gets up to about 9, I think 9 wins is not the basement, right?
Right.
And I think they were really more of a 7-win quality team last year just because their coaching sucked. And if you're bumping up, now you're looking at 9 to 10 wins with the offseason they have. So, yeah, you might be convincing me that it will be Minnesota in the basement. The more that I talk about this, the more it's gonna be tight for those two. But I could see it being either way. You've convinced me. Maybe it's going to be Chicago and
Kenny. The Bears then lost like 10 games in a row after that game, including that game.
Yeah, it was rough.
No, he played in that game. He threw the Hail Mary. Yeah. He was hurt coming into the game. They had to go and continue to wrap up his ribs every time that the Bears were on offense. But like, still, anyways, we're at 2.5 hours, dude. Let's
call it for now. Appreciate everybody popping in. Great questions, great comments in the chat. We'll be here next week. as always, 7 p.m. Have a fantastic Memorial Day for everybody.
That's right.
That is right.
I have Monday off. I don't get paid for it, but I have it
the
off.
The entire nation is celebrating my birthday on Monday. So
is it your birthday on Monday?
It is, yeah.
Oh, happy birthday!
It's really it's really great having my birthday on the 26th because there's so many times it's on Memorial Day weekend or on Memorial Day, and I don't have to work on my birthday. Like I say, 4 out of 7 years or 4 out of 8 years. It's pretty great. So.
Oh, dude, this is maybe. Hang on, before we go, Mike. This is maybe the best compliment I've ever had. Podcasting.
Yeah, right on.
You guys are worth listening to. That I honestly, in all seriousness, no sarcasm at all. That is the equivalent for me of giving a girl flowers.
Yes. I like that analogy.
Yeah. So like, Kenny, dude, I mean,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Shit. We got to end this right now, dude. Like,
all right. Hey, in fairness, we don't want to ignore Joseph. He also says really enjoy listening to the content.
Pretty nice to you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
He said some shit about me earlier in the cast. So.
All right, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend, and go Lions.
Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.